Before we start, we want to keep it a little bit short, because first of all, we had to ask for like shifting and switching the sessions, because I do need to catch a train. But there's also other people in the room who need to catch a train who present after us, and we don't want to torpedo that. So we try to keep it short, but we try to keep it sweet, in hope that Martin did not just destroy our slides, which would have been a true bummer.
Don't worry, we just finished them like 2 minutes ago, and they are here. So it's actually testing our cloud technology. We have also backups in place, so everything's fine. Look at that. Carsten, stage is yours.
I will, once upon a time, tell him how to like not show that stuff. Good. Then CAPI versus ClusterStack. Probably let's introduce ourselves first. I'm Carsten. You've seen me a few minutes ago. When I'm not talking about GovStack, I'm actually very deep into cloud-native technologies, working with Kubernetes, working with all the underpinnings, obviously do AI, because everything is AI nowadays, invest a lot of time into sustainability, and I love smart gadgets, and I hope my fiancée is not in the room because she would know if I had a new one. That's me.
My name is Martin. I'm CEO of D-Nation. I'm software engineer by heart, and from the things I love besides sovereign cloud, I love to work with Carsten because it's an adventure. Yeah. I remember how we actually created the documentation and training course for ClusterStacks, and Carsten was was training in a country called Eswatini. So I got a call like 9 p.m. Man, we have to finish the OpenStack part and all that. There's a lot of adventure to working with Carsten, and I like that, honestly.
Okay. One of the challenges that we have is we want to roll out Kubernetes at scale. Remember what I said previously when we, for example, talked about GovStack, right? With GovStack, every application is its own Kubernetes cluster. So we suddenly run on the same platform something like 15, 20 different Kubernetes clusters, at least. So we come to the point where we feel like, how can we do that? How can we roll that out properly? And the first answer I typically have in my mind is kubeadm. Because kubeadm is what you learn when you go to kubernetes.io. It tells you use kubeadm. It's the best thing since sliced bread. It's refreshingly simple, but it's also manual. So what we typically do is we accompany that with Ansible, right? Saying, hey, let's automate that. But what we don't answer in that regard is like, how do we manage that? How do we manage the life cycle of such a cluster? Right? kubeadm is awesome for rolling out. But if you then want to like update, upgrade, or what have you, it's, I leave out a lot of words, challenging, at least. So we then typically think, hey, let's do that probably based upon kubespray, because kubespray is kubeadm plus Ansible in a very nice package. You just download it, you run it, it's opinionated, it gives you a lot of things, it manages a lot of the aspects of life cycle, so you can upgrade your clusters, you can scale them. It's perfectly suitable for the job. It runs on nearly every platform, as long as you have Ansible being able to connect to it. So kubespray it is then, right? Probably not, because depending on...
I do have a question. So
okay, go ahead.
If kubespray is the right way, so how do you do actually the storage?
I love it when people read out my slides. But exactly that's the point where kubespray does not give you a clear answer, right? It is very good in like rolling out the cluster. It's very good in maintaining the life cycle, but it's not good when it comes to storage, networking, and like making it easy. kubespray is opinionated, and you are writing a lot of inventories. You are writing a lot of environment variables, a lot of like generally configuration code, which is, again, let's face it, something we don't want to do because we are lazy, right? So kubespray, probably not. Martin, do we have another idea?
Let's have a look to another slide.
Yeah, let's go there. Awesome. He was like having his finger across the keyboard and he was not pressing it. And I was thinking like, when is he going to press it? Cluster API then, right? I know today we talked a lot about Cluster API, right? You heard about that. It's a Kubernetes native way of rolling out and maintaining and managing Kubernetes clusters. It gives you a complete answer to everything like lifecycle. It gives you a complete answer to how you roll it out. You don't need to learn a new technology from that perspective. You have your cluster cuttle tool, which you combine with your kube cuttle. And yes, we say cuttle because we are the professionals. Only the beginners say CTL. We say cuttle. So that is basically where the sky gets close, heaven is near, right? So it's perfection in making, right? We use Cluster API and it's awesome, right? Isn't it, Martin?
I still do have a question. You know, you kind of answered that one about storage. About how about networking? You know, that's not kind of consistent across the providers we have.
Who cares about that, right? I roll out my cluster and then I manually figure out networking, storage, lifecycle, right? It's fine. It's what we did the past 20 years.
So my next question would be, so if the networking is not part of your solution, then how do we do the day-to operations of networking and operating stuff?
You have a better idea?
Yeah, sure I do. And by coincidence, it's the next slide.
Awesome.
It's called ClusterStacks, and it's a standard way how actually we maintain and develop and deploy clusters in sovereign cloud stack world. So it is based on CAPI approach. So
CAPI is Cluster API, right?
That's correct, but the cluster stack is based on CAPI. And the reason we do that, we would like to use the good from CAPI, which obviously it improves against kubespray and all that. But we need to extend that. So how do we extend that? The things which we were discussing, one of the things which is not addressed in Cluster API is networking. As a part of working Kubernetes cluster, you also need things like CNI, computer networking, container network interface. So how about if we take these three components and we put them together and we name them cluster stack. I mean, cluster class, which is a built-in CAPI feature, and it's a blueprint for creating and configuring Kubernetes cluster. So let's keep that in place because that's good. Regarding CNI and stuff like that, let's put it into the class called cluster add-on.
So you bundled that basically together?
Yeah. That's what we are going to do. And also, we do bundle it with node images. Because
what do I need these node images for?
That's a good question because when you need to run Kubernetes cluster, it's not enough to say how many replicas and this kind of stuff. You also need to say what is running underneath, what operating system.
I still need an operating system? I still need a virtual machine?
Well, you need something, and that something is image, which is going to actually run the cluster as you declare that. So how about if we put all these three things together in this fashion? As
awesome.
You can see.
But Martin, sorry. Now it's me, right? I mean, that sounds good. Do you know about ClusterStacks? You should first of all learn about that. But secondly, one question that springs to my mind is, when I roll out the Kubernetes cluster using ClusterStacks, based upon what you said, you say it's a bundle, blah, 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 blah. Like, what if I want to upgrade my Kubernetes cluster? Because that is typically one of the pain points I do have with Cluster API and with all of the other components. I roll out my cluster, and I have everything in running for version 131 something, which is going out of support, or actually is already out of support. And now I upgrade to 132, 133, 134, and my cluster networking is broken, my storage is not working anymore, and I spend weekends and nights just fixing that. Do you want to tell me that you fixed that?
Yeah, welcome to my world. That was before we started to use ClusterStacks, a lot of sleepless nights. But now we bundled all of them together. So as you can see at the bottom, we have node image. So we have a consistent way how to roll these node images across multiple providers because it's all bundled in the cluster stack. On top of it, we have a cluster class, which comes from cluster API. So we say how the cluster should look like. That's nothing new here. On top of it, we have cluster add-ons, and we pack all of them together, and we name it 1 point something. So it's atomic. Whenever we change any version of any of those 3 components, the ClusterStack version changes as well. So there is some kind of consistency, which allows you to do integration testing. So when you deploy that, then before you do so, you do the testing of all 3 components together, and then once you have the cluster stack, you can work with that in an atomic way.
Can I create my own cluster stack?
Oh yeah. That's actually how it works. You create your own cluster stack version, with all the components in particular version, you test them together, and you deploy them together in an atomic way.
Across my 500 Kubernetes clusters?
Across your 500 Kubernetes clusters, and the best part is it's atomic. So even you can use the built-in Kubernetes mechanisms like rolling updates, so even everything is updated or nothing is updated. So the chances that you will end up in sleepless night, like with cluster API, are less, because
I can make half of my operations team redundant.
Oh yeah, and if you put AI, then maybe all of them.
Probably the whole operations team is redundant. Okay, awesome. So I do have the consistency. I do have multi-cluster, multi-cloud stuff. I do have operational overhead and human error reduced. Okay, but like, where's the catch? Is there a catch?
Well, the catch is actually this technology is not so known, because as you know, Cluster API has been backed up by Cloud Native, and ClusterStack has been backed up by Sovereign Cloud Stack, and ClusterStack
so the catch is basically it's only working on Sovereign Cloud Stack so far?
That's not actually the case. The case is that it's much less known, so people don't know about this approach. It is
specifically the people in the room. I asked them, right? Who of you heard about ClusterStacks before, which is part of Sovereign Cloud Stack?
And somebody actually rose his hand, or not at all?
I think I've seen nobody raising their hand, and if it was a person,
they might be just shy, you know. So.
Yeah, or I think it was Kurt, or what have you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, Martin, let's rank that. Let's rank that. So, my initial approach, kubeadm.
Well,
probably not the best approach, right? kubespray, better, but not there yet. Cluster API, I think very great thing. But like ClusterStacks, from what I heard, from what you heard, sounds like a dream come true. Is there probably some training material on that, Martin? Do you know that?
Oh, yeah.
Can people learn about that?
Luckily, as a nice coincidence, we created those for you to deploy that. And actually, as far as I know, it was already trained in Eswatini and maybe some other countries as well. So it's a joint work of multiple companies, S7N and Osism and Vanilla Core and D-Nation.
And you can reach that at the Sovereign Cloud Stack GitHub, inside the ClusterStack operator repository. So whoever of you is going to be exposed to Kubernetes over the next weeks, months, years to come, and has the chance to work upon Sovereign Cloud Stack, don't do as I do. Don't start working with kubeadm and hope for the best. Don't try out kubespray. I mean, try it out. But work with kubespray and see that it is an awesome approach, but it still requires a lot of work. Toy with Cluster API, because as Martin already said, ClusterStacks are Cluster API plus X, plus the stacks, whatever. And end up looking into ClusterStacks. And one last question there, or one last ask for you. If you start working on that, it is work in progress. Talk to the project. There's open channels. You can all the time reach out to the SCS team, and you can basically support them in bringing that forward, right? That's still work in progress. But from what I've seen, what I've rolled out with countries, it is an awesome approach, and you should leverage it, if possible, whenever possible. Martin, any famous last words? Like something like questions, comments? Anything you want to say? Did we blow you away? There's a question.
Does it make sense?
Yes.
Small scale.
So, yeah, actually, a very good question. So for those who were not able to hear him, even though he was very loud, my experience, yes, it already makes sense when you just roll out one cluster. Because again, even with one cluster, you have the same lifecycle issues, right? So I personally, for example, in my home lab, I still do, up until a few weeks ago, until I broke it finally, when I tried to upgrade it, I'm not joking, I had a 128 cluster, which is like 3 years out of support. And I decided to upgrade that, which got me, like, in my home lab, a 3 weeks outage of my Nextcloud and of everything else running there. Was an awesome experience, and I wished I had something like ClusterStacks. And yes, that was a small cluster, only 3 workers and 1 control plane, because home lab, not high availability, but still, I was very openly puking for days. So to answer that question, yes, it makes sense. If you have an OpenStack lying around, if you have a sovereign cloud stack lying around, or if you have like Cloud in a Box, for example, at your disposal, try to work with it. At least work with Cluster API because it's already good. But if possible, try to go the extra mile and try to run ClusterStacks. It might fail, but at least you tried. Any more questions? You want to have a microphone, or will you yell at me, at us?
So is it possible to simulate it in a local system like Minikube, for example?
Not really. The only way of simulating that would be to run Cloud in a Box, which is basically at least 32 gigabytes of RAM and so on and so forth. But it's a single node sovereign cloud stack, which you can use for testing. If you want, like the thing is, it's tied to sovereign cloud stack as of now. It might be running on OpenStack, but then again, you need to have something like a dev stack in place or what have you. So it's unfortunately, as far as I am aware, as far as we are aware, there is not a straightforward way. But Martin might correct me because he is the one who has the knowledge. I'm just the user.
You know, that's a very good question, actually, and we were facing the same issue because OpenStack itself, it's not light, you need multiple. So we spent some time, and we were successful in that to run it on Docker, single node instance, which is able to run on top of your notebook.
Do you open source that?
Yeah, we documented that, and it's part of the, it's quite recent. So, Carsten, I forgot to tell him, but
yeah, he forgot to tell, like so many things.
It's quite recent. So if you start at our booth, the nation, we can show you that it's possible to do it on top of Docker infrastructure.
Oh, I would be interested in that as well.
Yeah,
we should
sure,
share that.
Sure.
Awesome question.
It's a recent work.
Awesome. Any more questions? Because I know that somebody's looking at her watch. Yeah, go ahead.
What about bare metal nodes? Sorry.
No, it's a very good question. So first of all, it can only run theoretically, as I just learned, where you would have something where you would be able to run Cluster API on top as well. So theoretically, therefore, it should be possible. But according to my knowledge, and I stand to be corrected, there is no such thing as like a working implementation there yet. It would be very interesting, though, to be honest, because it would open a lot of doors.
But you know, we can actually talk to Kurt because I believe he had something on his home lab, and we can ask exactly this question: whether or not
his home lab is still a sovereign cloud stack.
Might be the case. But let's discuss it with Kurt.
Yeah, Kurt Garloff would be also a good point of contact there.
Yeah.
No more questions, because I don't want to be the one torpedoing the traveling plans of myself as well. Thank you so much. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you, Carsten. Thank you very much for your attention.